Hello everybody and welcome back to Typical City. We are top of the league, said we are top of the league. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying being top of the league. It looks comfortable, but looks can be deceiving. There was a few issues that came up in yesterday's game, but mostly, I was pretty comfortable. Even at 1-0 down, I'm feeling, you know what, we're going to turn this round. And there is very few teams in the league that can have that level of comfort like Manchester City do, in that assertiveness, that confidence to know that we're just going to turn it round. And there was very little surprise that the game ended 3-1 to City, to be honest. In fact, I'm surprised it didn't end up more, in truth. But that's not to say West Ham didn't have their chances. And this is the player ratings, and what better place to start after saying West Ham had their chances than Ederson. Because those numbers right there, looking at his touches in particular, 34 touches. That's the least amount of touches he's had this season in any Premier League game. So that indicates that we weren't really having much luck, or maybe it was a different approach to the game, actually playing out from the back. Normally, a lot of our play build up and we lure teams onto a set the trap, and Ederson can spring that trap with a nice pass right through the spine of the opposition team. Wasn't the case today, but what was the case, yesterday was the saves. The number of saves he made. They weren't the number of saves, in fairness, but the actual quality. That one from Kurt Zouma in particular springs to mind, from a header, towering header from the cat killer. Bonk. Cat-like reflexes from Ederson, tips it round the post. That's at 1-1. That keeps us in the game. That's a vitally important save. And then, of course, there was the moment where Antonio was breaking through on goal with Ruben Diaz slapping him on the shoulder, knowing full well he's not going to catch him. He's not going to catch him at all. But Antonio overhit it one little bit, just a few yards ahead of him, too much. Ederson saw it and he pounced on it, made himself big, spread himself, and just jumped on that ball and saved us again. Another goal-scoring opportunity saved by Ederson. So that's not where he normally gets his credit for. There's your tackle. That's gone down as a tackle. That for the Antonio save and the Kurt Zouma save as well, which is why I've given him a 7.5, because you walk onto the pitch with a 6. For anyone's wondering how these scores are worked, you walk onto the pitch with a 6. If you do well, you go up. If you do badly, you go down from 6. That's how I work it out. Anyway, on to Kyle Walker, who I think quietly had a very good game. Really good game. Those numbers speak volumes to that, in truth. I've given him a 7.5. 106 touches, 94.2% passing accuracy. Really good, really good. And what's key for Kyle Walker in this game in particular was he had 2 roles. The first half was what we've seen of him this season so far, with him coming down that right wing into a space that Foden sort of makes space for him, or Bernardo, whoever was in right wing in that starting position, they would drift inside, be more central, giving the freedom for Kyle to run into down that right wing. That was the first half, and it wasn't working. And in fact, I think that's how they got their goal, because normally you'd expect Kyle Walker to be back there, but his duty under Pep Guardiola's instructions, that's not Kyle Walker doing it on through his own free will. He's under instructions to go down the right wing and be so advanced up the pitch. But that left a huge gap and susceptible to the counter-attack. And we were 3-on-2 with James Ward-Prowse, who just drifted into Kyle Walker's right-back position. All the space in the world, because Kyle Walker's fire up the pitch. Up there. No chance of getting back, even with his speed. That was why the goal. Second half, he's playing in a more traditional right-back role. And I think that boded well for City. I think that changed the game. It killed their counter-attacks. Any opportunities for West Ham were killed by Kyle Walker with his speed in a more traditional position. And I thought he did really well. 2 key passes, 3 tackles, 1 interceptions, 2 clearances, no block shots. You can't ask that much more from a defender, really. Really good. 7.5 for Kyle Walker. Ruben Diaz was decent. I thought he was okay. I think he struggled a little. His pace was exposed, wasn't it? I think that's the one issue with his game that's never been his strong point. I think Haaland's done that to him a few times when he played for Borussia Dortmund. Haaland put Diaz on his arse, didn't he? So the good thing about Diaz is he keeps the game in front of him, doesn't he? He keeps it in front of him and he retracts himself and he keeps moving back and he keeps the game in front of him. If you've turned Diaz and you've got the speed, that's when he's exposed. Antonio did that to him a few times yesterday, where he got beyond him. One in particular that Ederson saved that I've already mentioned. But I don't think he had a bad game, Diaz. There was a couple of nice interceptions that he did do. One thing Akanji and Diaz did really well was those counter-attacking opportunities that they intercepted, and they pounced on any West Ham attacks, potential attacks coming the other way. When City had just lost the ball from an attack of our own, they won it back so quickly and intercepted any attempts and kept City on the attack. They pushed the ball back into West Ham's half of the pitch, and it worked really well. I think Akanji and Diaz both did those same jobs really well. I've only given him a 7. I say only, I think that's reasonable. I think the same for Akanji. There's very little that I could say different. I think Akanji got a little bit more of a licence to roam forward. We've seen him go even further forward earlier games this season. And he did okay. He was pretty decent. 2 key passes, 2 tackles, 2 interceptions, 1 clearance, 1 block shot. That was the other. West Ham had 3 shots on target, 1 saved. 1 saved by Edison, 1 tackle where he's getting in front of Antonio, and then of course this block shot here as well, which was really good from Akanji. 98.9 passing accuracy as well. But I've given him a 7. There wasn't that much for him to do, in truth. I think he was good, same as Diaz, decent. Same for Gvardiol. One thing that I noticed about Gvardiol was the physicality of the Premier League is starting to show itself to him. I think he got involved in a scuffle in a corner flag, not by the corner flag, during a corner, where the ball was coming over and he was manhandled. Referee didn't see it, and you could see he was frustrated. A couple of minutes later, he goes flying in. I think it was James Ward-Prowse or Bowen, I'm not too sure, but he clattered somebody, got himself a yellow card. So it was good to see that. I don't like him getting yellow cards, of course. I don't want to see him purposefully getting yellow cards, but it was good to see he's not afraid to dish it out as well. He was getting some, so he gave some back. Good. Introduction to the physicality of the Premier League, and I like that from Gvardiol. It was good. But little to speak about defensively. Wasn't too much to do, but everything was just nice and easy for him. Didn't look out of his depth or anything. So again, another 7. This is where it starts getting interesting though. Rodri, just fantastic. Such a good player. Love him. Absolutely love him. 130 touches, 97.4 passing accuracy, 4 key passes, which is another indication of how good this guy is going forward now. Both ends of the pitch is just looking so comfortable, isn't he? In particular, that one moment where he just glides past a player and then he scoops it over the back 4 for Haaland to do some side foot bicycle kick, which Haaland gets on target, in fairness to him. Areola, I wouldn't say it was a comfortable save, but a somewhat decent save from Areola. If you're a neutral, you probably, if they didn't lose that game, Areola's getting man of the match, isn't he? The number of saves that he pulled off on Erling Haaland and other players as well. So it was a good performance from Areola, but that one moment from Rodri was just like, bloody hell, he's got it all. He's got it all now. He's running forward and scooping it over the defence for Haaland to volley it on goal. This is not his game normally. That's not what he's known for, but he's added it to his game. And he looks comfortable doing it. Really good. 1 tackle, 1 interception, 5 shots, 2 on target. Got to give him an 8. I think he was really good. Phil Foden, I thought he struggled. I thought that was probably our worst performer, hence the 66 minutes. I think Pep is in agreement with me, hence why I took him off. 51 touches, 84.9 passing accuracy, 2 key passes, 1 tackle, 5 shots with only 1 on target and no dribbles. That's the area of his game that you want to see more from Phil Foden. That's what he's good at, beating players. I've given him a 6.5. I think he struggled to get involved in the game, and I do think that he struggled when it was in the first half in particular because West Ham was so narrow. Pep changed it in the second half and put Foden out on the right with Walker staying further back. Whereas in the first half, Foden tucked inside, almost stepping on the toes of Alvarez, and it played into the hands of West Ham. And I think that's what affected Phil Foden's game because he was clustered. He was boxed out. Alvarez and Foden and Rodri and Souček and Edson Alvarez and Zuma and Agüero all congested in such a tight area of the pitch that Foden struggled to have any impact on the game. He played better in the second half, but still struggled to have as much impact as you'd want him to have, hence why he was brought off. So I've given him a 6.5, but I have no doubts he'll be bouncing back and doing something special in the next game. I have every belief in Phil Foden. He needs to be starting every game because you know what he can do. And that's the same logic that we give and afford to Kevin De Bruyne, isn't it? Kevin De Bruyne can have a bad game, but you don't drop him. You know what he can do. Phil Foden's starting to be that player because you know what he can do. But yeah, you can't pretend he had a good game yesterday because he didn't. 6.5. Matheus Nunes came on with a 6, gave him a 0.5 purely for that run. This is the player that came on for Phil Foden, 87% passing accuracy with 92 touches in the 24 minutes he had. He got himself a tackle as well. He was decent. The one thing I wanted to highlight was that run. For the third goal. Bursting through, it was Bernardo Silva coming down the right wing with Haaland being man-marked by Agüero and Zuma 2-on-1. But it was Nunes' run that he came across the face of Bernardo Silva and pulls apart Zuma and Agüero to allow Erling Haaland to peel away, get himself into some space. And Erling Haaland finally gets him his goal. And without Nunes' run, I don't think Bernardo Silva's finding that pass to Erling Haaland. So it's because of that run that we go 3-1 up. But he looked good. He looked lively, put himself about. I like the fact that he was as physical as he was. He got him stuck in a few times, hence the tackle as well. He was decent. 6.5 in that small little cameo. There's more to come from Matheus Nunes, though. Next, Erling Haaland. What an odd game for him. I've actually given him an 8, which could err on the generous side, if anything. The reason I've given him an 8 is because he did get his goal, and the word persistence is something that is constantly surrounding this guy. And I wanted to talk about persistence for another player as well. That player is going to be Jeremey Doku, of course. But persistence for Erling Haaland, that 66.7 passing accuracy needs to improve. Again, that's always the case with him, isn't it? His passing accuracy is always poor. He needs to improve in that area of the game. But at the end of the day, he was getting in really good positions, wasn't he? That's something that he scored a goal, and now we're talking about it like, but all those chances that he missed. At the end of the day, he scored a goal. So we can't be too harsh on him for missing chances, albeit that it created problems for us. And yes, we could have won the game 5 or 6-0 if he'd taken his chances. Jeremey Doku could have a bag full of assists as well, had Haaland taken his chances. But, 6 of them were on target. 9 out of the 9 shots that he had 2 clearances getting back as well, which is decent. 2 key passes, decent. Dribbles, 0. You're not going to get much out of Erling Haaland for that. But, it's a tough one for Erling Haaland because I keep highlighting his positional sense is so good. He keeps getting into the positions to score goals. And if that stops happening, that's when we've got a problem. But he was there, albeit poor finishes. He missed 2 open goals. But he eventually scored. So I've given him a generous 8. It probably could be towards a 7.5, but I've given him an 8 because of the persistence. He kept going and he got himself a goal, and it finished the game off in the end. And I'm pleased with that. Julian Alvarez, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. 90 minutes, 67 touches, 92.5 passing accuracy, 4 key passes, 2 assists as well, on top of the 4 key passes. The guy's creativity now. Kevin De Bruyne, are you watching? Because this is not an area of the game that I expected to see Julian Alvarez do so well. And, I've focused on his finishing and his fox in the box attitude. I think he is that type of player naturally, but he's showing what he can do elsewhere on the pitch. That busybody nature of his is getting stuck in. He's got himself a tackle as well. 2 shots, 0 on target. So he's openly there. Like, I'm not afraid to not have shots on target and not get involved in the shooting side of the game. Haaland, he's given that to Erling Haaland. Now he's getting involved in the midfield so much more. And he's producing. He is producing. The end product is there. That little scoop for Bernardo Silva to poke it into the far post. Really good performance from Julian Alvarez, giving him an 8.5. Now, Bernardo Silva, another 8.5 for me. I thought he was brilliant, really, really good. Got himself a goal, got himself an assist. Can't ask for much more than that, hence the 8.5. 94.6% passing accuracy, 4 key passes, a tackle, a shot, but it was on target, and he beat a player as well, 81 touches. Really good from Bernardo Silva. I think he shone more once he went into that right wing role, once he played on the right, instead of being tucked inside. I don't think he could impact the game quite as much as similar to Foden. I think West Ham was so narrow, hence the change. Bernardo Silva going out right, I thought it worked better for him. He found his feet more. He linked up with Matheus Nunes when he came on really well. Kyle Walker when he came on really well. There was a lot of nice triangles going on that right wing through Bernardo Silva, plus the goal and assist, 8.5. Jeremey Doku, man of the match, 8.5 again, but man of the match, 8.5. Just a touch ahead of everyone else, I think, because of, again, that word persistent. If you look at those numbers there, that's brilliant. That's absolutely fantastic. The passing accuracy needs to improve a touch. Not bad, 83.3% passing accuracy. I think that's an area of his game that he could probably work on, but that's not why we signed him. Not why we signed him at all. 64 touches, 3 key passes. Again, same as last week. The week before against Fulham. I included the tackling statistic because he had 2 against Fulham as well. So it's an area of his game that's he's not afraid to get back and get stuck in. He had that mistake, didn't he? He did have that mistake that it was almost directly his fault why we went 1-0 down, but he didn't give up. He walked off the pitch with his head down, looked like he was feeling sorry for himself, but he came onto the pitch, second half, spot on attitude, fantastic attitude. 3 key passes, 2 tackles, 3 shots, 2 on target, 1 of them was a goal, 3 dribbles, brilliant. Premier League player, Premier League watch out, Jeremey Doku is here, you know, and what a signing this could be. You know, 50 million, 21-year-old lad, and he's hit the ground running, fantastic. Can't wait to see what he's going to do for the rest of the season. Gomez, I've thrown him in. There were other players that came on in the 94th minute. I'm not going to give ratings for players that come on. He came on in the 89th minute, so anyone who goes off within the 90th, Foden went off in the 66th minute, Gomez came on with 1 minute to go, you know, so I'm giving him a 6 rating. He walked on with a 6. He 4 passes, 3 of them were complete, 1 went astray. Needs to be getting 4 out of 4 really there, doesn't he? But yeah, give him a 6. But Blues, what do you think of the ratings? Are you happy with them? What are your ratings, most importantly? Get your comments in below. I'd love to hear them. Like and subscribe. Typical City is the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now.